Welcome back to episode 11. And we have a very special guest episode in store for you today. We are joined by Mark O'Connor, another fellow Irishman. We seem to be attracting quite a few of them, as you can imagine, who is also in the coaching space. And when I say this man has seen many different seasons of life, this man has truly seen many different seasons of life. But we are grateful that he has joined us today. So we're going to just talk a small bit about his story, where he's come from, the struggles he's faced, and more importantly, because this is the aim of what we do, what the future looks like. So, Mark, over to you. Tell us a bit about yourself, where you've come from. You know the drill.
Yeah, so just to touch on, I suppose, what you were talking about there, Lee, a lot of my story will be, struggling and then overcoming struggling and then going back through a period of struggling again, and now I think finally overcoming the struggles once and for all. So I kind of push a lot, even with my content online, that it's okay to struggle and it's okay to go through hard times, because I truly feel when you've been through a hard time, you appreciate the good times more, and the good times will come easier, I suppose, once you know that you've been through such a hard time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I love that.
So a little bit about myself, I suppose. I'm from Kildare originally, a small village in Kildare called Ballymore Eustace. I travelled around quite a lot as well. So I would have been in Canada for 2 years when I was younger, and then moved to an area of the country you're familiar with, Lee, would be Athy. So I was there for 3 or 4 years, and then moved down to Youghal in Cork. Then moved home for a while there. Things got very choppy in the last year was probably the hardest year of my life, but thankfully I've come through that, and now I'm back down in Youghal with some exciting news to come down here in the coming week really. So yeah.
Nice. So we'll get into your story, Mark, soon enough, but before we go there, you did mention overcoming tough periods in your life more than once there. So to achieve that, let's start on the positive side of challenges. To achieve that, what kind of person or man, belief system or identity did you have to take on to overcome those things? So what kind of man did you have to become to build into the position that you are in now?
So resilience is the word coming to mind. Had to become very resilient. Both physically, I suppose, definitely physically resilient, but more so mentally and emotionally resilient, You can have a habit of building things back up and tearing them back down, so it's not to become disheartened when things start to fall down around you. It's to know that you can build it back up, and you are resilient. So resilient is the big strong trait, I feel, that's always been there, and that shines through. That makes sense, yeah.
Did you always have resilience, Mark, or is that a skill that you built upon over time?
I think resilience is definitely it's like a learned behaviour, something that you will you become more resilient the more you go through. I don't think you're born resilient, or personally, this is all personally as well, obviously, but I feel when I was younger I wouldn't have been resilient at all. I would have been very kind of standoffish, very very unsure of myself, I suppose, and I would have bet myself with a stick for a long time, Definitely now I've become more comfortable with them areas of my life, and understanding that resilience it's a really strong trait to have,
Yeah, for sure.
And if you don't mind me asking, why would you have been so hard on yourself? Like, where did it all come from, do you think?
Yeah, I suppose so. So growing up, I wouldn't have had the easiest childhoods, I suppose. So abandonment would have been kind of a thing. I wouldn't have grown up with my dad, and I would have always kind of felt different to other kids in school and stuff. Back then in Ireland, I suppose we're going back 20 odd years. It's more common now, I think, for people to grow up without a father figure and stuff like that. It's nearly the norm now. Every second home is kind of a broken home. But definitely when I was younger, it was I was one of the few, you know, and I definitely felt like the odd one out. Mightn't have always been treated like the odd one out, but I internalized it that I was different
Yeah,
and I wasn't like other kids. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. And do you think then it became a case of beating yourself up to try to think you had to be better, that you had to prove more, maybe? Do you think was
Um,
there a bit of that in it?
I'm not sure. Not sure if that was the case, but there would have been a lot of comparing to other people and looking at maybe what I didn't have rather than what I did have. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying my childhood was horrific. It was all bad. Like there was lots of really good times as well. But I think I just would have been backwards as a child. You know, I think coming from the broken home, you know, and then there would have been a small bit of bullying in school as well. I would have been extremely underweight growing up, and I think that kind of leads into why the fitness and why putting on weight and putting on muscle became such a part of my identity, you know, because I was so underweight and kind of would have been, bullying might be the wrong word, but teased a lot when I was younger,
Yeah.
you know, for the weight. Probably a small bit of bullying, like, you know, but it wasn't extreme bullying, but I definitely would have internalized it as extreme bullying, if that makes sense. But looking back on it now, it wasn't very, very bad, but I internalized it as very bad.
Yeah, yeah. So I was actually the same, Mark, in regards to being very underweight in school. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and probably yeah, little bit of a comment here and there, but as a sensitive kid, you know, it hurts. You're like, Jesus, like it must be
Mm.
being skinny must be a really bad thing because people are saying it, comparing me to
Yeah.
the athletic guys in the class, and you know, my health and fitness journey definitely stemmed from that. It was just to try and not be skinny anymore, you know. Um,
Yes.
so what was your journey into health and fitness? What was it? The start was the desire just to change that, or what got you into it?
Yeah, I suppose so. Like growing up, sports would have been a massive outlet. Like soccer and GAA would have been massive outlets, and um, would have been okay at them. You know, I would have been decent enough. But then the old the old thing, drugs and alcohol sometimes can come into that, especially in the as Irish men. We all know that,
Yep.
you know, and
Hmm.
Yeah.
sport took a back seat for a long time, you know, and it would have just been maybe something that became a chore, where it was something that I used to love, you know. So I would have went through kind of a difficult period when I was 18, 19 with drugs and alcohol. Well, 17, 18 really what was the time. And then I decided to move to Canada. And over in Canada, that's where I found the gym. That's where I really found my love for the gym. I was living with a guy and got very close with a guy. Jared is his name. He's an older guy, so he would have been about 20 years older than me, but we just had a connection, you know.
Yep.
And we would have kind of started training together, and he would have took me under his wing in relation to training, you know. So that was kind of my introduction, really. I trained before, you know. I'd been training in my room and stuff like that, but probably never really had the confidence to go to the gym, you know. But definitely over in Canada, I started going to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to your story then, and having that positive influence, and you know, me and Lee have talked about environment a million times on this podcast, but we know how important environment is, role models are, positive
Yeah.
influences, but we just keep hearing anecdotes and stories of the same situation really having a positive influence on us. So
Hmm.
it sounds like you are kind of starting to training by yourself, going through a rough period with the session back home in Ireland, which is all
Yeah.
too common for the young Irish male, isn't it? Like
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
same here, you know, like all too common with the young Irish male. And
Yeah.
some people never get out of it, unfortunately. You know, some
Yeah.
friends from back there kicking around, but still ain't out of it, you know.
It's
Go
like
on
you
then.
said, though, Dave. You
Mm.
said it a couple of weeks ago. No one tells you how great it feels. No one tells you how
Yeah,
much fun it is.
yeah,
You're
Yeah.
just told not to do it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
had a chat with a guy yesterday. I was similar as well, running through the same shit. And for me, I never felt my best unless I was doing all that. That was where I was at the top of my game. That's mentally where the brain switched off.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's crazy. No one tells you how great it feels.
Yeah, it's true,
And when
man.
you're coming from a position of not liking yourself, not wanting to be here, not being happy, and you get something like that that gives you the happiness,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
fucking great.
yeah, yeah, 100%, man.
Weekend after weekend, as much as you can, no problem. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
No
yeah.
one tells
Yeah.
you this.
And you and your mates at the time, thankfully, I still have some of my mates also came out of it, and we're still best friends now, and I'm so grateful for that. But again, like I said, some didn't, still doing it. Um,
Yeah.
but people don't tell you, and of course, adults and people are trying to protect us and save us, because again, some people never come out of it, and some people do pass away from it. So there is
Hmm.
a danger to it through addiction and mortality and the rest, and can impact your relationships and quality of life. But what you don't say is, listen, you and your friends are going to have an unbelievable time. You're going to
Yeah.
feel on top of Mount Everest, and you know that's it. But people don't tell you that. Um,
Yeah.
and then you're going to feel like a bag of shit for the next 3 to 7 days of it. Um, so yeah, I do think there definitely needs to be a little bit more awareness to that for young Irishmen. You know what I mean? Well, even worldwide,
I
I would say. What do you think?
yeah. I totally agree with you. Like it's a short term kind of a that feeling we're talking about. It's great, and we're talking about being insecure as we're growing up and being
Yep.
shy and being backwards and stuff, and that takes all that away.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're
Yeah.
suddenly you've arrived and you're the man, and this is it. Like this is what life is all about.
yeah,
And that might last for some people. You might get a year, you might get 2 years. Some people might get 4 or 5 years. But there's the other side of it that it turns on you. It's like this thing was your best friend, and it made you fit in, and it made you confident, and it made you be able to, I don't know, talk to girls, things you couldn't do before. But then it does this full 360. You can't leave your room, you're depressed, you're trapped up here, you know. And I think you touched on it, Dave, as well, and I'm sure we all have experience of this. Even guys we were growing up with who were extremely talented with sport and football, GAA, whatever
yeah,
it might have been. It's like a great remover. It takes away their careers and what could have been and where
yeah,
they could have went, and they kind of fall into the session and the drinking kind of culture, and then all of that's just gone.
yeah.
In a blink of an eye, it's just gone, and you're on to the next stage of your life. And you're left scratching your head. Then, do you know what I mean?
100%, 100%. So in alignment with that, Mark, tell me about the turning points for you, about the story and, as much into the challenges that you experienced as you're comfortable in going into. Um,
Yeah.
so on that, and then what were the turning points that helped you, let's say?
Yeah, there was a number of turning points. I suppose definitely going to Canada would have been a turning point. So that would have removed me from the environment I was in. You spoke about the environment, and it would have done a lot for me at the time. But there still would have been other things going on in the background. So you can remove yourself from the environment, but you can bring your head with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm,
So you can remove yourself from a toxic environment, but if you haven't sorted out up here, I think you'll never fully sort out. But that was definitely one of the turning points where I got into training, I got into the gym, I came back and I was in great shape, and that made me feel a lot better in myself and a lot more comfortable in myself. But unfortunately, that wasn't the fairy tale story I thought it was going to be, So there came struggles after that, and I suppose when I came back to Ireland, the drugs and the gambling would have become more prevalent. The gambling in particular, and
mm,
I would have ended up in my first treatment centre at 22.
mm,
Um, and yeah, I think I was far too young at that age to be anywhere near a treatment centre. I wasn't ready.
mm.
And then I would have ended up again in the treatment centre at 26, and I feel I was a lot more ready this time. And
Mm.
it just happened to be COVID at the time I went in, and then COVID struck, and I had plans actually, ironically, to move down to Cork and work in Cork Airport, and then ironically I ended up in Cork, and I don't know how it all happened, but it's just the universe sometimes has plans for you, But the plan was to move down to Cork after treatment and work in the airport, and that didn't work because of COVID, of course. But again, when I finished that treatment centre, I got really strong in my mind, and I felt like I had a passion and a drive again to help people. That's always been in the back of my mind, and I would have started a counselling and psychotherapy degree at that time. and I would have done 2 years of a counselling and psychotherapy degree, with the aim of helping people and with the aim of, you know, being able to help people and to give back, because I knew where I'd come from, and I was still at that kind of young age. I was 26, 27, where I felt a lot of young people would have been able to relate to me, you know. So I felt, yeah, I'm in a strong position here to do that. And it was around that time, so it was around my first year in college where I started with an online coach. So I'll give him a mention here, Cam McKay. So he was a coach from England, and it was the first time I started online coaching, and I'd been training at this stage maybe for 10 years, since I was 17, 18, 27, 28 now. So it was 9-10 years of training, you know, and I had more progression with him inside the first 6 months, the first 3 to 6 months. And I was blown away. I really was. I started posting on Instagram. I'd never had the confidence for any of that stuff, you know, and something clicked in my head then that I can help more people doing this through fitness and through health than I could ever with the counselling and psychotherapy. So that was when the seed was planted, I suppose, you know.
Yeah.
The seed was planted there that, okay, this could be a career path. This is something that you could kind of become very good with. And I thought one complemented the other very well, you know, the counselling and the psychotherapy, because I could understand and empathise with people, and the coaching then would go hand in hand, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have went on to do 2 years of that, and I was very robust in my recovery and things like that. And then I would have moved down to Cork. I met a girl down in Cork, and I actually had my son is Lewin, so he's 2 years of age now. And when Lewin was born, so obviously that's a massive time of happiness and elation and fantastic, you know, your first child is born. I had all them warm fuzzy feelings that people talk about, you know, and speaking to some of my friends, they didn't get them feelings, but I did, and it was powerful, you know. And unfortunately, tragedy struck 3 weeks after that, and at this stage I'd been sober quite a while, you know, and I'd been bet free and I'd been drug free quite a while. And 3 weeks later, my 15-year-old brother passed away. He drowned in the canal in Kildare, you know. So you're going from this massive high to this massive low in the space of 3 weeks, 21 days, boom, you know. And that was really, really hard. That just totally rocked me to my core, you know. Probably the hardest moment of my life. You're trying to deal with that. You have a newborn son at home, you know, living in Cork, so I'm separated from the family from the distance perspective as it is, you know. I know you have phones and everything else, but it's not the same, you know. You're stuck down in Cork. I have friends here, but it's not the same, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was a very, very, I even get emotional sometimes talking about it, you know.
Nice.
But I powered through for a long time after that. And I suppose in the build up to Lewin being born, we had started our online coaching business, me and my ex-partner, and the business was thriving as well. And I suppose that was my escape. That was my escape. I put all my effort and energy into building the business. And just after Max has passed away, we actually, it was 3 or 4 months after, we had hired another girl to come on board with us. The business was expanding, everything was going really well, but I wasn't dealing with anything that was going on up here. It was all just focused towards business and
just avoidance and distractions.
100%, you know. It was, I hadn't grieved, I hadn't gone through the grieving process, so like the crash was coming and the bang was coming, and if I'm being honest, and this is a very difficult thing to say, when I got the news that Max had passed away, something went off in my head and said, this is something you can use as an excuse later on. That's a horrible thing to say, but that's where my head went. It's like, people will understand, you know.
Yeah.
But so I had that in my back pocket for a long time, and I suppose, you know, there was just relationship struggles and things like that, and yeah, that all came to an end then, and that's when the grieving and the emotion of all that really hit, and everything started to fall around me again, you know. And the fall was extremely hard this time, you know. I lost my son, I lost my relationship, I lost the business, but most importantly I lost myself in that time, you know, and I became an absolute shell of a man. And that's where I suppose something came in that never came in, that thoughts of not wanting to be here, you know, and that was horrific. That had never been there in my life before. I suppose I'd always even maybe had the view that would have been a selfish thing to do, or that would have been the easy way out, or how could you do that? How could you do that to your family? But it gets to a stage where you actually feel that people would be better off without you. It's not. I don't think it's a selfish thing. I don't think it's anything like that. I think your brain plays tricks on you, and you get to that really low stage where you think, okay, people would actually be better off without me. They're worried about me. They can't sleep at night. This is all the stuff you're being told by people, you know, and you say, I have nothing to offer this world, and then you kind of just resign to the fact that this is your life forever, you know. But so now the positive part, I suppose.
Before you go there, Mark, I just want to say, man, I'm blown away by your vulnerability, and I met you
Yeah.
for 30 seconds before we hit record on this thing, man. So, you know, we know what the aim of the podcast is and stuff like that, but I do just want to thank you for
Yeah,
going there and sharing your
it's
story, and
powerful.
it's very,
Yeah.
very powerful, and I can't imagine, you know, the pain that you've gone through. So I just want to say thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that, and you know, as hard as it is for you to revisit that, I imagine, can only imagine. Um, you know, one day there's someone that we don't know listening to this, hopefully, and maybe going through something similar, or maybe going through their own struggles, and you're about to tell us the overcoming part of this story, if there is one, you
Yeah.
know. So I just want to say thank you for that, man. And you know, you being vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
like this is helping other people, man. This is what it's all about,
Yeah.
bro. This is what it's all about, you know. So I just want to say power to you, man. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, just thank you from myself and Lee.
Yeah.
We're only 10 minutes into this fucking podcast, but there's some guy that we don't know listening to this, and he's like, "Wow,
For sure.
fair play to that
Yeah.
guy." And this is what we're just trying to break that stigma, man, of Irish males not talking. That's all this is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for going there with us. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
power to you, brother. All right, back to you. Off you go.
Yeah. And that's, you hit the nail on the head there, I suppose. If this can help just one person that's struggling now at the moment, or one person that's in the trenches and doesn't see a way out, like there always is a way out. Always, always, always is a way out. You know, like the world is not a better place without you. You know, and that's not a nice place to be. And again, someone touched on, I don't know, was it Lee or Dave at the start of the podcast, that we all know people who aren't here anymore,
Yeah.
who have taken their own lives or who have ended it. You know, and they're just, it's not nice, you know, and
Yeah.
especially in Irish men, just we don't talk enough, we don't get vulnerable enough, and we don't ask for help. You know, it's
Yeah.
asking for help is probably one of the strongest things anyone can do, and especially for a man, you know, because it's not something that comes naturally to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was the big shift for you that all of a sudden was there asking for help was actually okay?
This time,
Yeah. Well, yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
I
This time.
suppose I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired, Lee. I was sick and tired of not wanting to be here. I was just sick of waking up with no drive. Everything was gone, and you know, intrusive thoughts all day long saying, "Kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself." You know, and I was just, I didn't want to kill myself. I knew there was something to live for, and I knew again from the resilience I spoke about in the past that there had to be another way. There had to be another way, you know. And I was just resigned to the fact, okay, give this one more chance and see what happens. You know.
Well, we're all very happy you did, Mark.
Of course,
Yeah.
man. Of course. Here you are. You know, this is only just a small thing. You probably never thought that you talk about it so openly. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't before, but you are helping people right now. Right now, you're helping me. I'm this unbelievable mix of emotions right now. You know, I'm never going to forget I'm
Yeah.
never going to forget you because of how you're making me
Mhm.
feel right now, which is you know, I don't know, when you're vulnerable with someone, you feel very connected to them. You know what I'm saying? And I just had
Yeah.
this unbelievable respect for you, and like I just had a vision there. It's just like one day I'm going to walk into this man's
I
gym,
think he's fallen
give
in
him a
love with
hug.
you, Mark, is what he's
Yeah,
trying to say.
I'm moving back to Ireland now. I just want to go train with you. But you are, man, you are. But what I'm interested now, Mark, is you know what was the course of action between then and now to to help with everything, you know. Not even going to say the word get over. I don't know if that even
Yeah,
that exists. I'm sure there's always an element of that present. But
yeah,
what was the course of action that you took to help you in any way?
yeah. I suppose just give a small bit more context. The final straw, I suppose, the straw that broke the camel's back, or if you want to call it that, it was around Christmas. I remember waking up on Christmas Day, um, and I'd never ever felt as low as I had felt. You know, my
Mm,
son. I was out of my son's life, and I made a promise to myself. I said, "You will never ever miss another Christmas again."
mm,
And I looked at myself in the mirror. I was crying. You know, I was angry. All these mixes of emotions. But I just said, "You'll never ever miss your son's um, Christmas again." And I said, "That's it. I'm stopping now." Um, and then what is it? 5 days later, it's New Year's, is it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
believe so.
Yeah, 7 days
Something
there,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
7 days there,
6 days or something later.
yeah. 6 days, yeah.
And I had promised myself, "Never again. You're not going to do it again." And I think 3 days later, I had cracked again, and I was back drinking and back gambling and everything else. And New Year's, I remember I was out in my aunties. I was staying with my aunties at the time, and I could hear people 10, 9, 8, 7 ringing in the New Year, you know. And I'm sitting there saying, "I want to die. I don't want to be here anymore," you know.
Mm,
And I woke up the next morning, so the 1st of January, and I rang a treatment centre. You know, I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I knew there was no way. I'd proven it to myself in the space of 6 days that it's impossible to do it alone, you know.
mm,
So I needed help. So that was just my journey. I needed to be taken out of society. I needed to deal with the trauma and the trouble of what had happened, and I knew I couldn't do it by myself.
mm.
So I rang a treatment centre, and I think I was in treatment by the middle of January.
Amazing.
And then in treatment, I suppose I just worked through the traumas. I worked through, them feelings of not feeling good enough, of feeling less than, of, all these feelings that just became amplified when the drink and drugs came on board, and most importantly, I dealt with the death of my brother, Max. I dealt with the loss of my son, but now we're working towards getting back into Lewin's life, I would have had family meetings and treatment as well, which really helped, meetings with my mum and stuff like that, which really helped strengthen that relationship. And I think they're the foundations, they're the building blocks that need to be solid from the start. So I think I've given myself the best chance, and and this is kind of the positive part of the story, I suppose. This is kind of the rebirth or the rise back up, or the strength, I suppose. So I gave you my experience there, and then a bit of hope, and now this is my experience, strength, sorry, and now this is a bit of hope at the end, you know what I mean? So there was an experience and strength, I think, spoke about there, and this is the hopeful part. This is the kind of the part that I think a lot of people need to hear, because if you'd have told me 6 months ago that I'd be sitting on this podcast, or I'd be sitting in the position I'm in now, I would have laughed at you. I would have told you were absolutely crazy, But fast forward to now, I think it's 2 months since I got out of treatment, something like that, and my online business is back up and running.
Yeah.
I'm nearly back in my son's life. That's going on in the background. I've built relationships with my family back up. Built relationship with some friends and new friends now, hopefully.
Of course,
You
let's
know,
go.
For sure.
I'm the easiest friend you'll ever
um,
make, man. By the way, yeah, I'm an
um,
easy sell. Everyone knows that. You know what I mean? If you ask me to buy your whatever, buy me a car, I'll be like, yeah, I'll buy your car. So I'm
yeah,
an easy sell when it comes to connection and friendship. I'm always seeking that out. So you're in.
yeah. I have a good coaching program there if you're interested.
And me too. I'll buy yours, you buy mine, right?
Um, but yeah, so all of that is positive, and I suppose this podcast won't be aired till next week, so I can speak about this as well. I've also recently just bought into a gym in Youghal, so it's Be Active Gym in Youghal, and I'm really looking forward to re-energizing that gym and bringing a new energy, a new community, and a new vibe, and really expanding that, I suppose, and again helping as many people as I can, and I feel that was a no-brainer from a business perspective. I think one business helps the other. Two businesses are coming together. So the benchmark coaching and then the active gym will come together. Um, so that's just the gratitude I have
Massive.
is phenomenal. You know, it's
Unreal,
really
man.
really good.
Unreal. And just, did I hear it right that you said you came out of the treatment center 8 weeks ago?
8 weeks ago, yeah,
Amazing, man. Absolutely incredible for you to go through that, and now you're going to be the owner of a gym in Yole. Like that's incredible
yeah,
rate of progress, if you want to call it that, and just
yeah,
positive decision making, and just absolutely smashing
yeah,
the paving the path ahead of you, man. So again,
yeah,
credit to you, man. That's incredible to go through everything that you did over the last few years and get yourself into the treatment center, and now you're setting up your career evidently, so
yeah,
just well done to you, man. That's very, very inspiring to do something in that time frame, you know.
yeah.
So just well done to you there, man. And I hope that you allow yourself feel the positive emotions that come with that.
Hmm.
Um, so just if you haven't already, man, just give yourself 10 seconds just to feel the pride of that because that's very, very impressive,
Oh yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
Do you do that? I've said this to one or two people on this podcast already. Is Lee would probably think he's fucking doing this again, but you said at the start, Mark, that beforehand you would have probably bet yourself up a little internally.
Yeah.
How is that? And more specifically, have you given yourself any time, space, uh, and energy to allow pride and satisfaction come to the surface about how fast you have progressed to come in to be a gym owner in a few weeks?
Yeah, I definitely have. It's definitely there's a lot of gratitude there. Gratitude is the word springing to mind. Like
Mm,
just I was actually speaking to Lee yesterday in private, and we were just speaking about gratitude. And if you're grateful, you're not looking for the next thing always, or you're not kind of looking for what you don't have, or you don't have time to put yourself down if you're grateful for what you do have. So
mm,
that's a definitely a skill I've learned this time that I feel has been lacking before in the past.
yeah.
you know. And I suppose going into treatment, I would have had the mindset this hasn't worked before, and it would have been the stick was out again. But I truly believe that every time I fell, I learned something, and
Yeah,
there was no wasted journey, So I had built the business, I had lost the business, but then you know how to build a business again,
Yeah.
and
you
you
have the
understand this
confidence and the
because you've done
certainty.
this as well. You've had ups and downs, so you might go through a period of extreme stress or sadness, grief,
Mm,
death, whatever it is. But just because you lose everything or things it feels like you're losing everything, you still have the knowledge, you still have the whereabouts, and you still have the experience that got you there in the first place, and that can always bring you back.
yeah.
Absolutely,
Fair play. I do.
absolutely. And I think
Go on, Lee.
go for it.
No, no, I did just have another question of my own interest, but you go, Lee, because I'm taking over like I usually do. Go on, you go first.
No, it's all good. No, it's amazing because you said yourself 6 months ago you wouldn't have thought this was your life moving forward. And what's cool now is I very much get the sense that like everything you're doing now in terms of the business, getting back into Lewin's life, it's all coming from a place of like immense positivity. Like this is all actually possible again. And what I found from my own struggles, and maybe you might relate, like you can get through anything now given what you've gotten through, you have that resilience. So you have that certainty and confidence. That, right, yeah, like we all know shit times come and go, and there's plenty ahead of all of us, right? It's just nature of the world. But
Mm,
I think when you've been to where you've been to, like it doesn't get any worse.
Yeah,
So all of a sudden, the challenges you have now in terms of growing the gym, in terms of building the business back up, first of all, it's a possibility you didn't think you were going to have. And now you can channel it more into a whole point of, oh, look, this is easy. It's tough, but it's easy. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
yeah,
yeah. No, well done, man.
100%.
So, Mark, right, when you were in the centers, what was the most, or what were the biggest turning points that helped you in there? Because I feel like, one day if somebody is listening, going through their own struggles, and look, absolutely, somebody should always consult with a professional and
Yeah,
walk this path with someone who's obviously very trained and very experienced. But what kind of activities tactics, skills did they do with you, on you? You know, what kind of things are most impactful to you in a positive sense to help you?
So one of the big things I suppose that helped me a lot this time was reading. You know, and reading kind of a lot of self-help books. I
Mm,
found that was very beneficial. So um, I'd always kind of I'd read before in the past, but not maybe not that genre of book and stuff. But one book in particular really sticks out to me. It's Mel Robbins' The Let Them Theory. You know,
heard of it, yeah.
very very powerful book. I suppose I would have been for a long time trapped in my head, worrying about what you're thinking of me, rather than actually just letting you think what you're thinking and letting the other person think what they're thinking, and just stay in your own lanes. You know,
Mm,
like as humans, I think it's like 70 or 80,000 thoughts we have a day, and we can't control all them. So we can actually only control our own actions and our own happiness. You know, so you can't put your own happiness on how other people treat you. You know, I feel you need to really be comfortable enough in your own skin to kind of own who you are, and to know that the things you're doing for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Um, and I think if you can get a bit of acceptance around that, that's powerful, you know. So that book in particular was, I think I could have based my whole program off that book, you know. Maybe I
mm.
didn't need treatment, maybe I just needed to read that book.
Well, how did you come to the book? Did someone recommend it to you in the center, or how did you come about it?
Someone recommended it, yeah, but I'd also seen a guy, he had a let them tattoo on his arm in there, you know, and
Unreal.
then I was like, right, the book must be very good if he's got it tattooed on him, you know. So yeah,
You know that's after changing a few lives if fellas are going around with a tattoo of it, you know.
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly, yeah, yeah.
it's a fact though, but I can relate to it, you know, 100%. You know, Lee would know, and anyone who listens to this would know, you know, I'm a big believer in meditation and mindfulness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, me being as seasonal as I am, I actually do more of it when I'm underslept. So again, being a CrossFit coach for 8 years, there's a lot of morning shifts. So there's a lot of times where you're getting 6 hours sleep, five and a half,
Mm,
maybe six and a half. When I can get seven, I'm all right. But when I'm very underslept or under recovered, I have to meditate in the day, 20 minutes, early afternoon, and I will either fall asleep straight away. If my body will just sleep because I'm very present. It will take it if it needs it, or I don't sleep and I just meditate through it. Either way, I come out a different human being on the other side, you know? So if I'm underslept or overstressed, again, those thoughts, the thought quality, I like to call it, is way more negative, you know, way more
mm,
negative. But when you're present in the moment, you truly become aware of thoughts and observing the thoughts rather than a thought and trying and holding on to the thought and believing the story and getting involved in the story of the thought. And there you're in an anxious loop. Whereas the more mindful you are, you just realize, oh, that's a random thought. It's pleasant or unpleasant or it's neutral. I'll let it go. It doesn't define me. It's just a thought. I have no control over that, but I have control over reaction to the thought, and therefore my
absolutely.
actions and behaviors. And
Yeah.
I learned that through meditation. And it's just what an unbelievable skill, you know, when you frame what you truly have control over and what you have no control over. And then you just know what you just place your attention and your focus on, and what you ignore. And what you can ignore is what those other fucking people think of you, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned it there, Dave. You said it's a skill, and like that's
Skill.
not something. I don't think it is something that most people naturally have. I didn't have it. I had to learn it. I spent a lot of time trying to figure that shit out, and I think that's what no one is told. Like you're not naturally going to be able to understand why you're feeling this way. You need someone to talk you or walk you through it. Look, it's okay to feel like this. It's okay to beat yourself up. It's okay. But what we need to do now is, well, where is this all coming from? You know what I mean?
Mm,
And that's like, where have I know when I was younger, not once was not anything like that ever mentioned. It wasn't until I kind of hit another low period myself and I signed up with a therapist and I was like, right, fix me. I've got a lot of shit going on. Like, let's figure it out. You know what I mean? And it's a never ending process. I do believe as well. Like it's something I'm quite passionate about. Is that whole kind of self reflection, like the introspective work. because if you can control your mind, you can control everything else. And like you mentioned, Mark, about like what other people think of you,
Yeah.
I would definitely be more in a position now that, like, obviously, look, no one's perfect. Stuff still gets to you, but my automatic reaction now is, you know what? That's just a reflection of them, their limitations, their beliefs, their experiences. 9 times out of 10, if someone is coming at you negatively, they're not. Now, some people are maybe intentional, but a lot of it is coming from somewhere else. They don't even realize what's causing all this. No one wants to be like this. You know what I mean? And I think once you have that awareness around it, but I think it also ties in then as well to what I believe is we all have the choice to hone this skill and learn this skill. I don't believe now, having gone through what I've gone through, listen to what you've gone through, no one is just how they are. Everyone has the option to work and figure it out, just like you did. You probably had the hardest journey out of anyone I've talked to, but you ultimately decide, right, there is a way forward. Let's learn. Let's figure it out. Let's make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, facts. Oh, I love it, love it. I just want to touch on another one there, Mark, and then you can take your next question. Um, would you say, Mark, what were the biggest impacts, negatively, and then what were the biggest impacts positively, when you were going through the session? You mentioned a bit of gambling stuff. What was the negative impacts in regards to other areas of your life? Mental, emotional, relationship, social, you mentioned.
Nope.
He's gone,
We've lost him. It's all good. He'll be back, no doubt. Anyway, I
no doubt.
think that's only second time that's happened.
Yeah.
So we'll get him back in. But we were talking there anyway. Just like I do think it is something that is worthwhile saying. You mentioned it yourself. It's like it's the mindfulness meditation.
Mm.
It's just a skill, man. It's a skill. No one naturally has it, or some people do, in fairness, but most people don't.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
it's a
that in
fact.
and of itself is massive. But
Mm.
what do you think for you? Like, what was your defining moment that the penny dropped? It was like, oh, this is something I actually can control. It's not something that I'm done with it controlling me.
What kind of thoughts, like in kind of my own
Yeah, even your turning
perspective?
point, even that turning point. Like, when did the penny click that, right? Like, I can control this. This is something that I can change
Mm.
because it's not something you naturally come to. You know what I
No.
mean? There's a reason for us to have to approach it.
Yeah, I would say, man, I always connect my mindfulness and meditation journey to me starting back in college, right? And the reason for that is that I wasn't that great in school. Every report said has more potential, So that was always going, and I was always going to go to primary school, then going into secondary
Welcome
school.
back.
Wished you're
Sorry
back.
about
It looked
that, lads. I
like
don't know
it
which
looked
way it
like he
went.
just didn't like what I had to say, which
Yeah,
is absolutely fine.
I scared
I
you
was
off.
trying I was trying to lead into here, and then it just got worse and worse. So yeah, sorry.
No, it happens, man. It happens. You're all good.
Yeah.
I'll get to your question in a sec, Mark. But Lee just asked me there, kind of like about the mindfulness and meditation, how it is a skill, and what was the kind of turning point for me, how it's a controllable skill and thought quality and stuff like that. But everyone's kind of different. But I think a mindfulness and some sort of stress management, some sort of mindfulness practice that brings you back into the present moment, it's just one of the most valuable skills you can have in life, I believe, right? But to get back to Lee's question, I actually started doing it because I went back into college. Right when I first entered college, I dropped out, hated a call center for 3.5 years. That's when my session started. And
Mm.
then when I went back into college, for just exams and stuff like that, and presentations and stuff like that, and I just used to overthink it so much because I didn't do it that well in school and stuff like that. So just to bring me back into the present moment and stop overthinking. Like I never forget one of my first assignments. It was only for 10% lads of this module. It was supposed to take minutes, and it just took me like 8 hours. Just overwhelming, overthinking in front of the laptop. You know what I mean? Just like how it needs to be perfect and all this. Um, so somehow I can't remember how it came across Headspace, but anyway, I started doing it for around that, right? And anytime hard time or anytime I have a presentation or anything big personally, professionally that I feel like I need to prepare for. Even CrossFit competitions back in the day, and where I feel like I had to perform or underslept or I'm kind of aware that my thought quality has gone negative for the last little while. I just go straight back on the meditation, and I just the impact that it has on me psychologically is just immense. There's nothing like it. Nothing gets me in that state like meditation does. So so yeah, actually recently I said to myself I need to get back on it because I haven't done it in a couple of weeks, let's say. But yeah, if anyone hasn't, just download the Headspace app. You get a free trial. It's like €50 for a year if you want to go down the paid route. And yeah, I don't blow smoke up my own arse too much, but I always blow smoke up my own arse when it comes to that. 18,000 minutes, lads. 18,000 minutes on that app I've spent.
That's a lot of minutes apiece for Becky.
That's it
You've
is.
called Dave for a discount. You've
Yeah,
called Dave
yeah,
for a
yeah,
discount. He's trying to
yeah,
plug
yeah. Facts, facts. So,
it.
so that's me. But back to you, Mark. What was the impact? You touched on it, of course. There was issues with relationship and you know mental and emotional challenges as well when you were going through the challenges. And what were the impacts, the negative and social impacts that I had on your whole life, let's say, through the challenges, and then on the other side, things are better for you now.
Say it again, Dave. Sorry. What's the
So,
question?
so what were the positive and negative impacts on the other
Okay.
important areas of your life?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So the positive impact, and it's always been the strong, strong positive impact. It's just training. It's nutrition. It's the gym.
Mm,
For a number of reasons, I suppose. One, when you look better, you're going to feel better.
mm,
Two, when you fuel the engine's going to perform better, both physically, cognitively, mentally, the whole lot.
yeah.
And I suppose the gym also offers, for me anyway, in the gym I train in, a sense of community and a sense of belongings. So
Mm,
if you're in the gym, you're very rarely going to be in there alone. There's always going to be someone to speak to or someone to kind of bounce things off or chat to, and a lot of the time you're on a similar journey. I'm sure you're aware of this as well. You probably get this quite a lot with, maybe consultation calls or conversations you're having with people on a day to day, like the anxiety a lot of people have around going to the gym and the kind of
Yeah.
fear and all that kind of stuff. And it all ties back into what we were talking about a moment ago, and you said it, Dave, that you can only observe your thoughts. Sometimes we can't even control our own thoughts. Never mind controlling someone else's thoughts. So like, I think there's a misconception out there that people are going to be looking at us in the gym, or people are going to be making judgments or putting us down in the gym. You genuinely find in 90% of the gyms in this country anyway that everyone is just there to better themselves. Nobody is there to look down or to judge anyone that's there to better themselves too. Um, and if someone is having a thought about you, they might not even be able to control that. So who cares? Just
yeah.
go get yourself out of your comfort zone. Join a gym. It's massive for your health and well-being as a whole. Would you agree?
Yeah. 100%. It
Yeah,
actually
for sure.
brings me to that word, intrusive thoughts. You know what I mean? And how that is related to it's almost like a little intruder. You know what I mean? It's just saying, haha, I'll get to do what I want, and you don't have that much influence over me, and then they're out.
Yeah.
Or they're not out. They just sort of stay there and dance on your brain for as long as they want it. So, while I wholeheartedly believe you can't control the thought that is presented to you, but you can set the stage for it. So, what I mean by that is, if you slept 5 hours last night versus 9 hours, now what's the thoughts that are going to be presented to us? Okay, they're going to be different. Are you going through a 10 out of 10 stressful period for a number of days, or are you zen the last while, 2 out of 10? You know what I'm saying? Are you
Mm-hmm.
over caffeinated? So essentially, we're just trying to manage our cortisol. We're trying to get that right balance between our rest and digest, parasympathetic nervous system state versus your sympathetic, absolutely, fight or flight nervous system state. And we just need to have something that brings us into that rest and digest for as much time as possible. Like I said, for me, that's meditation. For some else, it could be painting, it could be drawing, it could be journaling, it could be stand-up comedy on Netflix. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as
Yeah.
you have something. But just don't leave that intrusive And in this case, this negative thought that if I go to a gym, the guy in the corner is going to look at me because I don't know how to use this machine. Don't leave something like that, to have such a negative impact on your life, holding you back, you know? And from an individual that's been in love with training and gymming since I'm 16, 17, I can tell you now that everyone's too busy for focusing on their own workout to be looking at you. And if you are, get a PT. That's what they're amazing for. They're great for building that confidence in you. Or get an online coach or get a training buddy, bring a friend, whatever. Just have that little exposures. It doesn't need to be right. I'm a gym person now. My whole identity has changed. No, go in there for 10 minutes. You know, even if you go in, work on the treadmill and leave. The next day you might go in, walk on the treadmill, try one machine, and then leave. And just get that little exposure and just overcome the fears in that way, I would say.
That's exactly what I did with a client, just as you said. He was terrified of the gym. And I said to him, I said, well, look, like, you have a membership there. So all I want you to do tomorrow, I want you to just walk in the door. Just walk in the door, look, and walk out.
Yeah.
And he came back. I actually walked in and went in the treadmill. I was like, fantastic, amazing. So let's do that for the rest of this week. That's all we need. And then I actually went and lifted some weights. Like, better again. Because a lot of it it's just something I'm quite big on, is just lowering the barrier to entry. Like, whatever it is, whether it's training, lifestyle, nutrition, you don't need to go straight into top. And I think that's probably a misconception that's out there, just from what I see with people, is especially with social media, right? Like, everyone pushes, all you see is the extremes. And look, like, I know we've probably all been guilty of showing, like, training and the side of life, thinking, oh, that's the way it should be, but it isn't. And I think if more people can realize this, they don't need to be in the gym 5 or 6 days a week. If you don't want to step on stage, if you just want to look good, feel a bit better, and live a healthy life, the barrier to entry there is so much lower, and there's no expectation there. You know what I mean? There's something with clients as well, is you can reprogram your brain. The whole neuroplasticity, I love it personally. I'm not going to go off on a tangent on it, but just like you have that intrusive thought that you constantly let win, all of a sudden, to the point of this controlling you, that's as a result of repeated action that proves this thought, proves this belief inside your head. So you can break it. It's not easy. The first couple of times is going to be fairly tough, and you're going to feel maybe uncertain or whatever. But why after a while does it just become easier? Why do you go from being anxious around the gym to not being anxious around the gym? It's because now you're taking more conducive actions that actually back up a more positive connotation to it. And if you can identify what those thoughts are, whether they're positive or negative, are they serving you or holding you back, and then what actions you need to tie to it, it's a lot easier then to just focus on that small little action you need to take than the big outcome that you need to achieve.
I love it. Go on, Mark, you go.
I think it's small daily actions that keep that needle ticking forward. It's not an extreme diet from day one. It's not endless amount of cardio. It's not 6 days in the gym. Like, less is often more. And like you said, Lee, and not everyone wants to step on stage. Not everyone wants to do a photo shoot. Some people just want to drop a bit of body fat, maybe put on an extra bit of muscle. Maybe just get in shape for a holiday, whatever it is. And it's the kind of old scenario, like, you'll start off Monday to Wednesday, you'll be 100%, and then Thursday you'll have a takeaway, and that's it. You'll write off the rest of the week. Like, if you break a cup in the kitchen, you're not going to start slamming all the cutlery everywhere and all the cups everywhere. That's a
good analogy, actually. I never used that. I like
so
that.
It's like, I think we chase perfection too much, and maybe the fitness industry has taught us that. There's a lot of conflicting kind of stuff online, that we have to be perfectionists, and we have to be locked in 24/7, locked in. Some people just want a lifestyle change, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But there's levels to it. Like, I personally believe, like, your effort always dictates your results, which is, I think we'll all agree on that. But what are the results you want? And then you match your efforts with this. Like you said, not everyone wants to go to the elite level of things. Most people, I would feel, just want to have a better lifestyle, more enjoyment. You mentioned, like, so having that Thursday takeaway. Like, I had this exact chat with a client. Like, why is that all of a sudden a break in your week? Why can't that just be something you do every Thursday because you enjoy the food and you enjoy the de-stress from it? Someone I'm quite big on as well is make everything a conscious choice. So if you feel like you want that takeaway, rather than thinking that you can't have it and then losing the next couple of days, make the choice to have it, enjoy it, and then just make sure you get back into it then for the rest of the day,
Yeah.
the next day. Because then it's not abnormal. That's just part of your week.
Yeah.
There's no need, and I think a lot of that again comes from social media. Like you said, I do think there's merit to kind of living the life to a certain degree, because it does teach resilience and structure and awareness around these things. But there's also seasons as well where maybe you have to just pull back. Like what you have, I can't remember. You have your dial system, Dave. I think it is. I
Yeah.
have it's kind of like the push pull framework.
Mm.
You probably operate something similar as well, where there's weeks where everything is easy. Right, let's make as much progress as we possibly can. Let's fucking get 10 steps forward this week because we can. Well, next week's not going to be so. Well, maybe we're only making 5 steps forward, but that's still okay. You know what I mean? If you can kind of understand when you push, when to pull, and ultimately accept that it's okay not to be operating at 100 miles an hour 24/7, is something I struggle with, and at times I probably still would. Then it becomes easy. There's no stress around it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fact. Yeah, I love that dial method, kind of turn it up, turn them down, and just getting those psychological wins of you're still moving towards whatever goal you have. It doesn't need to be 10 out of 10 all the time. Allow yourself to be a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10, but you don't need to stop. You know what I mean? And also in alignment with the food situation you were talking about, how it's almost reverse psychology, but it's super powerful for you to say to an individual, oh, okay, you have a takeaway on a Thursday and you're struggling with that. Okay, well, instead of restricting it, just make the conscious decision to do it, enjoy it, have no shame, no guilt, no judgment, nothing, because then we're not feeding that negative emotion loop, and then we're not looking for more uh, comfortable foods as coping mechanisms. You just say to yourself, yes, I am going to get a chip and a bat that sausage. I'm going to enjoy every single bit of it. I'm going to have no guilt, no shame, no judgment, me to me and my coach to me. And then all of a sudden, oh, actually, I actually don't want it because I feel like I can do it if I want to. Do you know what I mean? It
Exactly.
just has that
Yeah.
rebellion. As soon as you have put restriction on something, it's just this rebellion. It's just human nature, right? Whereas, oh, yeah, do it. You want to do it? Go do it 100%. Go do it. I support that. But make sure you have no judgment, shame, or guilt. Me to you, you to you. I say that to my clients all the time. They're like, all right, cool, yeah. And it's like, and if you actually do it, enjoy it and be satisfied with yourself that you had the power to choose and you did choose and you're serving yourself right in that moment because that's what you wanted to do. 9 times out of 10, they don't even want it then. Mad. And if they do
100%.
do it, it just gives them that energy, and we're in a good place psychologically because we still feel like that we're honoring ourselves and our own power of choice. We are back on track, if you want to say that. And then we're eating our Greek yogurts and mixed nuts on the next meal or the next day. You know what I mean? It's that when we do that too much of that restriction and all that, and then we can go into binge eating episodes and disordered eating, you know.
Mm.
And if you go too far into the weeds into bodybuilding culture, then that's what can happen. I'm not saying every bodybuilder is like that because they're not, but not normal people don't need to be that restrictive, don't need to be that to the gram, because that's what it can cause. It can cause you binge eating episodes because of that disordered eating pattern. You know, so living a normal, balanced life. Again, the people going from zero to little in all this health and fitness stuff are the people getting the biggest return on investment in regards to longevity and health and fitness and still living a life. You know,
I
that's
think it
how I
all
feel with
comes
that.
back to the goal of the individual as well. Like if you want to, you're someone who's a lot of say a lot of progress to make in a short period of time, then there has to be sacrifices made, you know, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has
yeah,
you have to look at your goal for your time frame and what you want to happen, and okay, how realistic is this straight away, and then how restrictive do we have to be, you know, like if you're signing up to something long term and you're looking longevity and you're looking into the future, okay, then you can move a more natural kind of course. But if you're trying to get ready for a photo shoot, a bodybuilding show, or whatever it might be, just a holiday, you want to really look in your best shape, then there has to be periods of sacrifice. You know, you can't expect this amazing result if you're not going to sacrifice. But then it's all goal dependent, isn't it? It's all
yeah,
Yeah.
person dependent and it's all interpersonal. Like, you know.
yeah,
But what you always find as well, though, like I've often had clients who've come in with this crazy goal and say, well, we're going to set, like I'm kind of similar to yourself as well. Like I've no issue pushing and going aggressive with things if we have to,
Yeah.
especially for athletes, like athletes who need to pull weight down in between their season and pre-season. You only have maybe 8 to 10 weeks. So yeah, we're going to go aggressive. You're going to have to suffer a small bit, but again, athletes don't mind suffering. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's a different game.
That's the nature of the game.
But what I find, but what I have found with clients, like when with this goal was set up to achieve whatever, but there also needs to be a conversation of when they start suffering and the negative feedback comes, because everyone's always going to complain at some point, right? It's human nature. But that's where the conversation needs to be had. Is right. Well, this is realistically what it takes. So with that in mind, is this goal still that important to you? Is it worth it? And there's no right or wrong with that, I believe, because I know like everyone will have an idea that this goal doesn't require the same level of effort or work. But I think it's a great place to be there, having that conversation, because then it's like, right, well, now we can really see where you need to go and what needs to happen to get there. You know what I mean? Rather than, like, I have friends in the past that they've had this big goal and like halfway through and it's like, I'm just burnt out, fucking don't want it anymore.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's
okay.
worse again, like. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, lads. Let's wrap it up, shall we? So, Mark, before I go there, I do want to ask you, if someone can relate to your story here, has gone through any of the challenges that you have and have overcome and built the skills to help yourself overcome it, what would you say to these people who may be going through something like that right now?
Don't give up. Keep going. Ask for help and reach out to someone who's been through something. Reach out to a professional, reach out to a friend, your parents, whatever it is. Just don't give up. That's the big one.
Yeah, love it, man.
That's massive.
Love it.
Because it is, like, you're never truly on your own. I know that's how you feel and then that's how I felt, but you're not, because there's people who's been through it, they've been through worse, they've got through it, and they're the people you want to talk to, always.
100%. Speak out, lads. Right, gents.
Yeah.
So next up on the podcast,
One more before we go.
go on, Lee.
Mark, for anyone who's listening can relate to you and your story, who wants to learn a small bit more about you, your world, and what it's all looking like, where can they find you?
Over on Instagram, benchmark_coaching.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
That'd be me. I'll follow you now.
Anyway, take it away, Dave. Close it off.
Yeah. Just thanks so much, Mark. Absolutely love your story, man, and your resilience and your vulnerability. That's what it's all about. And hopefully you encourage other people to speak out. And no doubt, this conversation that we've had will help. So again, just thank you from me to you, from Lee to you, and from anyone that's listening to this podcast. So just a big heartfelt thank you for that, man. Really, really appreciate it. Next up, guys. Go on, Mark.
Thanks to both of you lads as well for allowing me to come on to the podcast as well.
That was a pleasure, man. Honestly,
pleasure.
It's inspiring just seeing the story, the journey you've been on.
And do you know what I love as well? I said the same to Gary Burtonshaw, but we might have you on in another few months, man. See how the gym is going and just see how everything is going.
For sure.
The story ain't over until it's over for all of us. So it'd be great to have you on in a couple of months and just to see how everything's going, man.
Sweet. Yeah.
Deadly, love it.
Close
So,
it off, Dave.
yeah,
Let's
so
go.
next up on the podcast, guys, we have one of my best mates, Richard Kiley, coaching on Instagram, or if you know him personally, like I do. Kylo, again, has an unbelievable story, has had his own challenges in life and has overcome challenges as well. Also an online coach. We seem to get all online coaches on this podcast, Lee, but Kylo's an absolute character and a great vulnerable individual as well. So we look forward to welcoming him on the podcast this week as well. So that's it. We'll have Kylo on Wednesday, and that'll be released the week after Mark's one. And that's it, guys. Thanks for listening in. Hope you made it this far. And we'll catch you on the next one.